September 14, 2019, 11:47 p.m. A phone rings in the darkness. On the other end of the line, a woman's voice trembles with fear. The call lasts exactly 4 minutes and 32 seconds. When it ends, 28-year-old Sarah Mitchell will never be seen again. What happened during those 4 minutes? Who was on the other end of that call? And why, 5 years later, do police still have no answers? This is a case that defies logic, challenges every investigative protocol, and leaves more questions than answers. A case where the evidence doesn't just go cold, it vanishes into thin air. Welcome to another investigation. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most perplexing missing persons cases of the last decade. A case where the only witness was a phone call that should have provided all the answers but instead opened the door to something far more sinister. To understand what happened to Sarah Mitchell, we first need to understand who she was. Because this wasn't just another missing person statistic. This was a woman with dreams, routines, and a life that by all accounts seemed perfectly normal. Sarah Mitchell grew up in Riverside, a quiet suburban town about 40 miles outside of Seattle. She was the middle child of 3, born to Thomas and Linda Mitchell in 1991. Friends describe her as outgoing but thoughtful, someone who lit up a room but also knew when to listen. After graduating from Washington State University with a degree in marketing, Sarah moved back to Riverside. She landed a job at a local digital marketing firm, TechBridge Solutions, where she quickly became known for her creativity and work ethic. Her supervisor, Marcus Chen, would later tell investigators that Sarah was one of those rare employees who actually cared about getting it right. But Sarah's life wasn't all about work. She had hobbies, routines, a social circle. Every Tuesday, she attended a yoga class at Serenity Studio downtown. Thursday nights were reserved for book club with 4 close friends, a tradition they'd maintained since college. Weekends often meant hiking the trails around Mount Rainier or grabbing brunch at her favorite cafe, the Morning Brew. Her apartment was a modest 1-bedroom on Maple Street, 3rd floor, overlooking a park where children played during the day and dog walkers strolled at dusk. Neighbors described her as friendly, always offering a wave or a smile. Her landlord said she paid rent on time, kept the place immaculate, never caused problems. By every measurable standard, Sarah Mitchell was living a stable, unremarkable life. And perhaps that's what makes what happened next so deeply unsettling. Because nothing in her background suggested she was in danger. No troubled relationships, no financial crisis, no history of mental health struggles or risky behavior. There were no warning signs, no red flags, no reasons for concern. Until September 14, 2019. September 14 started like any other Saturday for Sarah Mitchell. Security footage from her apartment building shows her leaving at 9:23 a.m., dressed in workout clothes, carrying a yoga mat and water bottle. She was heading to an early morning class at Serenity Studio. The class ran from 9:45 to 11 o'clock a.m. Instructor Maya Rodriguez would later confirm Sarah attended the full session and seemed completely normal, happy even after class. Sarah stopped by the Morning Brew, her usual Saturday routine. Barista Jennifer Park remembers taking Sarah's order, an oat milk latte and an avocado toast. They chatted briefly about the weather, made plans to catch up soon. Jennifer recalls Sarah seeming totally fine, maybe even excited about something. The timestamp on the receipt, 11:34 a.m. Security footage from various businesses along Main Street tracks Sarah's movements throughout the afternoon. At 1:15 p.m., she's seen entering Poyle's bookstore, where she browsed for approximately 30 minutes before purchasing 2 novels, a thriller and a memoir. At 2:47 p.m., she stopped by Riverside Farmers Market. Vendor testimonies place her at several stalls. She bought fresh vegetables, artisan bread, local honey. Witnesses describe her as relaxed, smiling, chatting with vendors she recognized. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. By 4:30 p.m., Sarah was back at her apartment. We know this because her key fob registered at the building's entrance at exactly 4:33 p.m. Her neighbor, Mrs. Eleanor Grant from 3B, saw her in the hallway carrying grocery bags. They exchanged pleasantries. Mrs. Grant would later tell police that Sarah mentioned making dinner and watching a movie that evening, just a quiet night in. She'd said, The next few hours are where things get murky. Sarah's phone records show she made several calls and sent numerous text messages between 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock p.m. Most were routine, coordinating plans with friends, responding to work emails, scrolling social media. At 8:14 p.m., she ordered Thai food through a delivery app. The delivery driver, Marcus Webb, confirmed dropping off the order at 8:52 p.m. He remembers Sarah answering the door, thanking him, tipping through the app. She seemed totally fine, he told investigators. Normal Saturday night. Sarah's phone activity continues. At 9:30 p.m., she posted an Instagram story, a photo of her dinner with the caption, "Perfect Saturday night in." The post showed her living room, the Thai food spread out on her coffee table, a candle burning in the background. 47 people viewed that story. None of them saw anything concerning. Her best friend, Rachel Torres, even commented, "Looks amazing. Talk tomorrow?" Sarah replied, "Definitely. Love you." That would be Sarah Mitchell's last public communication. At 11:47 p.m., Sarah's phone received an incoming call. The number showed up as unknown. Cell tower data confirms the call connected. The call lasted 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And then nothing. Sarah Mitchell vanished. When Sarah didn't show up for brunch with her parents on Sunday morning, they weren't immediately concerned. Maybe she'd overslept. Maybe she'd forgotten. They tried calling, no answer. They texted, no response. By 2 o'clock p.m., concern turned to worry. Sarah never missed plans without calling. She was reliable to a fault. Her mother, Linda, drove to Sarah's apartment. She knocked. No answer. She called the building manager, who reluctantly agreed to check the apartment. What they found was both reassuring and deeply unsettling. The apartment was neat, orderly. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. Sarah's purse was on the kitchen counter. Her keys were in the bowl by the door. Her wallet, ID, credit cards, all there. Her car was still in the parking garage, untouched. But Sarah was gone. Her phone was missing. Her laptop was missing. And oddly, deliberately, her running shoes were gone, but only that one pair. Every other shoe she owned remained neatly arranged in her closet. Riverside Police Department received the missing person report at 3:47 p.m. on September 15th. Detective James Morrison was assigned the case. A 20-year veteran with a reputation for thoroughness, Morrison immediately sensed something unusual about this disappearance. Most missing persons cases, you can see it coming, Morrison would later say in an interview. Troubled past, recent conflicts, warning signs. But with Sarah, everything was fine right up until it wasn't. Like someone hit a light switch, the investigation moved quickly. Police secured Sarah's apartment as a potential crime scene. They interviewed neighbors, friends, co-workers, family. They pulled security footage from every camera within a 2-mile radius. They analyzed her phone records, bank statements, social media activity, email accounts. What they found was a complete dead end. Let's start with the phone records. That final call at 11:47 p.m. came from a number that couldn't be traced. Not a burner phone, those can eventually be tracked. This was something else. Digital forensics experts described it as spoofed, masked through layers of encryption and international routing that made it virtually impossible to trace. Whoever called Sarah didn't want to be found. But here is what really baffled investigators. There was no record of what was said during that call. Normally, while police can't listen to phone calls without a warrant, they can at least determine general patterns, voice stress analysis from cell tower signal fluctuations, metadata indicating whether both parties spoke or if it was one-sided. This call had none of that. It was as if the call existed only as a timestamp in a database, proof it happened, but no evidence of what happened during those 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Security footage provided more questions than answers. Every camera in Sarah's building was functioning that night. Cameras covered the front entrance, back entrance, parking garage, stairwells, elevators, and each floor's hallway. Not a single camera captured Sarah leaving the building after she returned at 4:33 p.m. That's impossible, said building security consultant Robert Hayes, whom we interviewed for this investigation. These systems are designed with redundancy, multiple overlapping angles. For someone to leave that building without being captured on any camera would require knowledge of the entire security system, ease blind spots, and even then, we're talking inches of margin for error. Detective Morrison and his team reviewed hundreds of hours of footage. They looked at every person who entered or exited the building between 4:33 p.m. on September 14th and 3:47 p.m. on September 15th when Sarah was reported missing. 47 people came and went during that 23-hour window. Police interviewed every single one, accounted for every single one. None of them had any connection to Sarah. None of them reported seeing anything unusual. The physical evidence from Sarah's apartment revealed more mysteries. Forensics found no signs of struggle, but they did find something peculiar. Trace amounts of an unidentified chemical compound on Sarah's kitchen counter and living room floor. Laboratory analysis identified it as a proprietary cleaning agent, industrial grade, not commercially available, the kind used in hospitals or specialized facilities requiring extreme sterilization. Why would traces of this compound be in Sarah's apartment? She didn't work in healthcare. She didn't have any known connection to medical facilities. Even stranger, the compound was found in a pattern. Not random traces from cleaning, but deliberate placement, small amounts in specific locations, as if marking a path or indicating specific areas. Detective Morrison brought in FBI specialists. They theorized the compound might have been used to eliminate other trace evidence, DNA, fingerprints, fibers. But if that was the case, why leave traces of the cleaning agent itself? Was it an oversight? Or was someone sending a message? Sarah's digital footprint told a similar story of careful manipulation. Her laptop was missing, but police obtained warrants for her cloud storage, email providers, and social media accounts. Everything was there up until 11:47 p.m. Her Instagram story, her text messages, her browsing history showed she'd been watching YouTube videos and scrolling through news articles. At 11:34 p.m., she'd searched for best hiking trails, winter and waterproof hiking boots review. Then nothing. No deleted messages. No cleared history. No signs of digital tampering. Just a clean stop at 11:47 p.m., like someone had paused her life mid-frame. As weeks turned to months, the investigation into Sarah Mitchell's disappearance became one of the most resource-intensive missing persons cases in Riverside's history. Detective Morrison's team pursued every conceivable lead, every theory, every possibility, and they all led nowhere. The first theory investigators explored was the most common in missing persons cases, that Sarah had chosen to disappear on her own. People start new lives for countless reasons: debt, relationships, mental health crises, desire for escape. But Sarah's case didn't fit the profile. Her bank accounts remained untouched. In the months following her disappearance, not a single transaction appeared. No withdrawals, no purchases. Her credit cards showed zero activity. She'd left behind every form of identification, every means of accessing money or resources. She'd taken no clothes beyond what she was presumably wearing, no sentimental items, no preparations for starting over. Psychologist Dr. Amanda Foster, who consulted on the case, stated, "People who voluntarily disappear typically show warning signs: gradual withdrawal from relationships, subtle changes in behavior, financial preparations." Sarah showed none of these indicators. And frankly, leaving without resources, without planning, isn't disappearing, it's vanishing. There's a significant difference. The second theory was more sinister: that Sarah had been abducted from her apartment. This would explain the sudden disappearance, the missing person, the lack of security footage showing her leaving. But how? Every entrance was monitored. Every exit was covered. Building maintenance confirmed no access points had been compromised, no windows forced, no locks tampered with, no structural vulnerabilities. FBI profiler Marcus Webb suggested a chilling possibility. If this was an abduction, we're looking at someone with significant resources and expertise. Someone who could bypass multiple security systems, leave minimal physical evidence, and execute this operation in the middle of a populated apartment building without being seen or heard. That level of sophistication suggests either extensive training or inside knowledge of the building's systems. Police investigated everyone with access to building security systems: maintenance staff, security personnel, contractors, property management. All cleared, all accounted for, all had alibis. The mysterious 11:47 p.m. phone call became the investigation's focal point. What was said during those 4 minutes and 32 seconds? Who called? Why? Digital forensics expert Dr. Sarah Chen spent weeks trying to trace the call's origin. This wasn't amateur hour, she explained. Whoever made this call used sophisticated routing protocols, probably bouncing the signal through multiple international servers, possibly using encrypted VoIP services layered on top of spoofing technology. We're talking about someone with significant technical knowledge or access to specialized tools. Police explored several scenarios. Was it a threat that scared Sarah into fleeing? Was it a lure that convinced her to leave willingly? Was it someone she knew, or a stranger? Was the call itself the key to everything, or just coincidental timing? Detective Morrison obtained warrants for Sarah's complete call history going back 3 years. Investigators contacted every number she'd ever called or received calls from. They interviewed over 200 people from her contact list. Nothing stood out. No suspicious connections. No threatening communications. No unexplained relationships. The phone call is either everything or nothing, Morrison told reporters 6 months into the investigation. Either it's the key to this entire case, or it's the world's most suspicious coincidence. As the investigation dragged on, police inevitably looked at people close to Sarah. Statistics show most victims know their attackers. Friends, family, co-workers, acquaintances, these are the usual suspects. Sarah's ex-boyfriend, David Chen, came under scrutiny. They dated for 2 years before breaking up amicably 6 months before Sarah's disappearance. Police interviewed him extensively. His alibi for September 14th was solid. He was at a wedding in Portland with over 100 witnesses. Phone records and social media posts confirmed his presence. Co-workers were interviewed and cleared. Family members had alibis. Friends cooperated fully with the investigation. Everyone passed polygraph tests voluntarily administered. This is the most frustrating aspect, said Detective Morrison. Usually by this point in an investigation, someone stands out. Someone's story doesn't quite add up. Someone has a motive we can explore. With Sarah's case, everyone checks out. It's like investigating a ghost. As rational explanations failed to materialize, some investigators began entertaining more unusual theories. Not officially, but in quiet conversations and late-night brainstorming sessions. What if Sarah had been planning something no one knew about? What if she'd been involved in something that required her disappearance? What if there were aspects of her life completely hidden from everyone who knew her? Former FBI agent Rebecca Torres, now a private investigator, commented, "Sometimes the simplest explanation is that we are missing something fundamental about who the victim really was. Not because they're deceitful, but because everyone has private aspects of their lives. Maybe Sarah was involved in something good or bad that she kept completely separate from her everyday existence." But again, no evidence supported this theory. No secret accounts. No hidden communications. No double life. 14 months after Sarah Mitchell vanished, something unexpected happened. Something that should have broken the case wide open but instead only deepened the mystery. In November 2020, a hiker discovered Sarah's phone. The phone was found approximately 47 miles from Riverside, deep in the Olympic National Forest, off a rarely used trail. It was wedged between rocks near a stream, partially covered by fallen leaves and debris. The hiker, Martin Rodriguez, was exploring off-trail when his own phone lost signal. As he climbed higher looking for reception, something caught his eye, a glint of metal and glass between the rocks. He pulled it free, saw it was an iPhone, and noticed a cracked screen with a background photo of 2 women smiling at the camera. He took it to the nearest ranger station. The ranger checked the phone's emergency information screen, the feature that displays even when a phone is locked. There, in the owner's medical ID, was the name, Sarah Mitchell, along with emergency contact information. Police were notified immediately. Detective Morrison received the phone on November 18, 2020. Digital forensics teams worked around the clock to extract any usable data. The phone was severely water damaged and had been exposed to the elements for over a year. But modern forensics technology is remarkably sophisticated. After 3 weeks of careful work, technicians recovered partial data from the device. What they found was both illuminating and bewildering. The phone's last recorded activity was at 11:51 p.m. on September 14, 2019, exactly 4 minutes after the mysterious phone call ended. At that time stump, the phone's GPS showed a location that made no sense. It was still in Sarah E's apartment. But here's what made this evidence so confounding. Between 11:47 p.m. and 11:51 p.m., Sarah's phone had been moved. Not far, but deliberately. GPS data showed it went from the living room area to the bedroom, then the bathroom, then back to the living room, as if someone was walking through the apartment carrying it. The final recorded GPS coordinates placed the phone in Sarah's living room. Then, at 11:51 p.m., the phone powered off. Not because the battery died. Forensics confirmed the battery still had 63% charge. Someone manually powered it down. But the real mystery was this. How did a phone that was last located in Sarah E's apartment on the 3rd floor end up 47 miles away in a remote forest? The phone never came back online, never connected to cell towers, never showed any GPS activity after 11:51 p.m. that night. For it to reach Olympic National Forest, someone had to physically transport it there. But who, when, and why? Detective Morrison pursued this new lead aggressively. Police searched the entire area where the phone was found. Cadaver dogs combed the forest. Dive teams searched the stream and nearby bodies of water. Search and rescue volunteers covered hundreds of acres. They found nothing. No signs of Sarah. No additional evidence. No clues about how the phone arrived in that location. The phone itself revealed one more piece of the puzzle, a detail that sent chills through the investigation team. Forensics recovered fragments of deleted data from the phone's memory. Hidden in the corrupted files was evidence that between the time Sarah posted her final Instagram story at 9:30 p.m. and the mysterious call at 11:47 p.m., someone had installed a remote access application on her phone. This type of software allows one device to control another, viewing screens, accessing files, even activating cameras and microphones without the user's knowledge. It's typically used for legitimate purposes like remote ID support, but it can also be weaponized for surveillance. The application had been professionally installed, leaving minimal traces. Whoever put it there knew what they were doing. And more disturbingly, the app had been actively running during that final phone call. Someone was watching. Someone was listening. Someone had complete access to Sarah's device and possibly had been monitoring her for days, weeks, maybe longer before she disappeared. It's now been 5 years since Sarah Mitchell vanished after that phone call. 5 years of investigation, hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours of detective work. 5 years of her family waiting, hoping, searching for answers. The case remains open. Detective Morrison, now retired, still thinks about it. It's the one that got away, he told us in a recent interview. Not because we didn't try hard enough, but because everything about it defies explanation. It's like someone designed the perfect disappearance. Sarah's parents still live in Riverside. Her bedroom in their house remains exactly as she left it. Every year on her birthday, they hold a vigil, hoping someone, somewhere, knows something and will finally come forward. The FBI has listed Sarah's case as a critical missing person investigation. So what really happened to Sarah Mitchell? The theories remain, but the answers stay hidden. Did she leave voluntarily, somehow evading every security camera and covering her tracks perfectly? Was she abducted by someone with sophisticated resources and expertise? Was she the victim of something so carefully planned that investigators never stood a chance of solving it? The phone call at 11:47 p.m. remains the only concrete evidence that something went wrong. 4 minutes and 32 seconds of conversation that no one will ever hear. A voice on the other end that remains unidentified. Words spoken that changed everything. Perhaps most haunting is this. Sarah's case suggests possibilities we don't want to consider. That someone could vanish in the digital age, in a secured building, in a connected world where everything is tracked and recorded and monitored. That despite our surveillance cameras and GPS tracking and digital forensics, a person can simply cease to exist. And somewhere, someone knows what happened during that phone call. Someone knows where Sarah Mitchell is. Someone has the answers. They're just not telling. If you have any information about the disappearance of Sarah Mitchell, please contact the Riverside Police Department or the FBI's Missing Persons Hotline. Even the smallest detail could be the break investigators need to finally solve this case. Sarah Mitchell was 28 years old when she vanished. She had her whole life ahead of her. She had people who loved her, dreams she wanted to pursue, a future she deserved to live. She deserves answers. Her family deserves closure, and the truth, whatever it is, deserves to be known. This case remains unsolved. If you have any information, please come forward. Missing person details. Name: Sarah Mitchell. Age at disappearance: 28. Height: 5'6". Weight: 135 pounds. His hair: brown. Eyes: green. Last seen: September 14th, 2019. Riverside. If you find this story interesting, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. More story like this will be posting in this channel every week.